Oh boy, we got to talk about the update of the Palworld situation. Shout out to everybody watching this video. Welcome to the Ether. If it's your first time here, consider subscribing. We've talked about the lawsuit between Palworld and Nintendo, or I think Pocket Pair is the name of the maker for Palworld. Sorry, I'm a one take Andy. Small YouTuber, less editing, but we talked about it before, and I know there's a lot that's happened this last weekend. I got a lot to talk about, but I have a conference in about 5 hours, so I need to keep this as short as possible, and then get some sleep, at least 4 hours. Upload it to YouTube, edit it while I'm at the conference. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see what's gonna happen, but I'll make it happen for sure. Man, speaking of like things I've reacted to recently, with the politics stuff, because of the American election, there is obviously, I'm not talking about that, but there is a political vibe, a political perspective I could have when it comes to like the gaming industry as a whole with this lawsuit. There's some like vague, and we've talked about it in the past. There's some vague patents that Palworld might be suffering from that Nintendo filed against, and then there's also, we talked about like how the patent system works. Like you have old patents, and then they can like make patents underneath those patents, so like they could come in after Palworld was made, and make just a patent that's like has a father of an older patent type deal. So that way it's kind of like grandfathered in to affect Palworld, which is kind of shady in my opinion. In patents, you would think, from me with the industry I'm in, for my day job, like I see like, there's trade secrets at factories and with like machinery and stuff like that. So you have to sign NDAs to like go visit factories and see, what they're doing, how they're trying to innovate and push, further. This is not that. This is like, in my opinion, this is like almost like restricting people from using different type of story elements in movies and stuff like that, and storytelling, because I really do think there's a parallel between movies and gaming. It's just, obviously there's a little bit of a difference to it, but nevertheless, let's get into the video. I know I did my little spill right there. I don't want to get too, because I have like my thoughts already about this situation, but I just want to react to the videos, and I can let those opinions go out. So yeah,
there is an update.
Here we go
to the Palworld lawsuit from Nintendo. I feel like I missed
this video. Is gonna be Luke Steffens live, his channel. I don't know what's happening over here. There, I fixed that. That was weird. He does great work. I found him recently. So we're gonna listen to this guy talk about it for a little bit. It's a 10-minute video. Put my 2 cents in, and then also we'll react to another video, just a brief clip that I saw that I thought was very, very well articulated.
Missing something here, because I feel like there's a piece of this puzzle that I'm not privy to, but we'll talk about it. Exile, thank you.
Months. That's a long time.
37 months. Crazy.
Yep, nice.
Part of the loop on this, but
okay, here we go.
Let me show you, because I feel like I might be out of the loop on this, but
I haven't watched this video. He's done amazing videos in the past. I just watching this one because it's 10 minutes long, but I do have a clip specifically picked out for after this. So I feel like I'm in the loop, honestly.
On November 8th, Pocket Pair announced the Pokemon Company and Nintendo are demanding 10 million yen, or roughly $66,000, which will be split between both companies, plus late payment damages. This comes after the Pokemon Company filed a patent infringement lawsuit against
Nintendo is demanding 10 million yen. That's the first I've seen that.
Pocket Pair back in September 19th of 2024. The suit aims to seek compensation for damages that Pocket Pair allegedly caused as a result of the infringement of the Pokemon IP. Quote, this lawsuit seeks an injunction.
Honestly, the damages to the Pokemon IP, to be frank with y'all, is astronomical, because people realize that, hey, some small ass studio could come in and take the vibe that Pokemon is and make it adult themed and make it really, really fun, and something that Pokemon fans have not seen ever before and didn't know they probably wanted. And honestly, that's why it's so successful. It's why I'm probably gonna buy it on all three platforms: PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam to support them. Because, dude, this it really puts it into perspective when Palworld came out. Because I love Pokemon. I still play their games. I haven't played Scarlet and Violet just because obviously the game looks terrible. But it just shows you what, you know, Game Freak could be doing, what they could be cooking up.
Injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the ground that Palworld, a game developed by the defendant, infringed multiple patent rights. They wrote in their press release. They have not disclosed the specific infringement details. Neither company's revealed those details. Experts believe one of the three patent.
Okay, I did watch a video where someone said the details were clear. Now that was the update, so we'll get to that part already. Don't worry about that.
Infringed.
They could be just making shit up, but I did see someone that was talking about it as if they knew what the details were.
Revolves around throwing an item to catch a monster. Giving their update, Pocket Pair explained, quote, "The plaintiffs claim that Palworld, released by us on January 19th of 2024, infringes upon the following three patents held by the plaintiffs and are seeking an injunction against the game and compensation for a portion of the damages incurred between the date of registration of the patents and the date of filing for this lawsuit." They continued, quote, "We will continue to assert our position in this case through future legal proceedings." The developer also noted that they will now refrain from responding to individual inquiries regarding the case. If any matters arise that require public notice, we will announce them on our website, etc. I think there's two pieces to this. For one, okay, they are demanding $66,000 roughly, which is shockingly low, right?
That's so low, and I think the reason that's super low is because of public perception from this lawsuit. People really look at it as Nintendo, with obviously endless money compared to the creators of Palworld, pretty much doing, you know, the Disney routine, which kind of just failed with the fuck, I forgot her name. But yeah, they just had an L in the court system just a while ago, which it's crazy to think that these big companies that have endless money to pay lawyers take L's, because you think even when they would lose, they could just keep throwing money at it to keep the other person financially bleeding to where they can't afford a lawyer anymore. I don't know. That was what I was feeling the vibe was. But $66,000 is very, very low compared to, obviously, Palworld's made a lot more money than that. They have a new partnership as well with Sony, which they're extending their lore into TV show / movie. I don't know exactly what it is, but they are going down that Pokemon strategy when it comes to marketing the trio, if you will, the merch, which obviously is the cards, then the TV show, which was Pokemon, which was a banger. Grew up on that shit. Parents didn't let me watch it, but I still watched every episode I could. And then obviously the game. So yeah, that is interesting that it would be that low. I would think it would be even higher because of that, but public perception is everything, which is odd in this case, because Game Freak, I just felt like, didn't really care about their old fans. They really cared about new generation fans, and they didn't really care if the old ones fell off. I could be wrong on that sentiment though, because $66,000 is so low.
That's not that many copies of Palworld, and Palworld sold a lot.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And it's still making money.
This really is not much. The key here is that they specifically are seeking an injunction, which could lead to, there's different meanings behind that, but it could easily lead to the game being discontinued from sale, them shutting it down.
Or it could be they have to license underneath Nintendo or Game Freak, however they filed it, for Pokemon's patents, which would require them pretty much paying for the rights to use those mechanics, I'd assume.
More than anything, it sounds to me like they would be seeking a precedent. If they can get them to pay this out, then there's potentially a precedent for future claims against Palworld specifically, or other companies that try to do similar things.
Yeah, I would say fight it, honestly. It's I don't know. I don't know what would happen. We don't know what would happen if they paid it. We don't know what follows up after that, right? Because if they pay, it's pretty much admitting to be guilty, but just trying to like work out a plan. You'd see like some like typical TV show or some shit like Law and Order. Like you say you're guilty, you work out a plan beforehand. That way, instead of like 5 years, you get 2 years. Or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? And we don't know what that back end deal would be.
Another piece of this is that we don't know the specific details of the infringement. So, for example, like a lot of these lawsuits,
I'm going to just say it right now. I'm pretty sure it's because of riding mounts, which is the most ridiculous one in my opinion. They had mounts in World War and fucking God of War, or fuck, I'm fucking tripping. And War of Warcraft. Sorry, it's late. I rolled out of bed because I wanted to make this video. I was like, I can just go to sleep. But I was like, no, I need to make this video because I care about this a lot. And the other one, I believe, is the Pokeball itself, the function of that. And then also, like, I forgot, there's a couple of them. Fuck, I can't remember.
At least in the States, they require specific damages to be described. So if I'm going to sue you for doing something, for infringing on something, I have to, if I'm seeking monetary damages or compensation, I have to be able to say...
The way you catch the Pokemon, I think, is the other one. Like, the fact that you, like, throw a trap at them. I can be wrong. I don't know. Correct me down below if you know.
Like, how I was harmed. What you did. So... if it was like somebody...
Which is also interesting because the harm of the companies can be harder to kind of decipher, especially for long-term harm, because the Nintendo Game Freak just went through the situation with, they had a lot of leaks that came out, which leaked like so much files. It was crazy amount of files. Stuff for the new games that are going to come out, stuff for the old games, stuff that was just stored away some reason, some like fan fiction lore by some employees, I guess, which I covered, which was really, really, really disturbing. Really changed my perspective on the creators of Game Freak. And obviously, it was just one, I think it was just like one hard drive or computer or setup or something at Game Freak that got hacked and pretty much pumped and dumped onto the web. So, I mean, there's possibly, you know, a lot more of that shit out there. Well, there is a lot more shit out there. Who knows what's out there, so... but yeah, that completely damaged their public perception, in my opinion, because there's the lore itself was really bad.
Was, you know, another YouTuber made an AI avatar of me and started making videos where they pretended to be me, and they were making videos that I would have made otherwise, and that cost me the like monetization of those videos and other like exposure of those videos. I could then do some math on how much my videos would have made if they had not been infringed in that way, and the amount of money I lost, and then I could sue for that damage. And then you could also seek like punitive damages also to make a point, but that's usually tougher to get.
Yeah.
Here, for whatever reason, they think that they have garnered roughly $60,000 in damages, which is not a lot. So
I really think it was higher than that. I think they pushed back the amount of money because they just want to be done with the lawsuit after the leaks and after the public perception, but I could be wrong. I could be. 66 is such a low number though. Like, why do y'all think it's so low?
I'm really wondering what their arguments are in court, because it's such a low amount of money. My guess would be they are spending more money than that on lawyers by a pretty sizable margin.
Yes.
That would be my guess.
This is a formality. This is just to get a W on it, the situation. Granted, Nintendo coming at someone and suing them, they are undefeated. They have never lost in court when Nintendo comes after somebody. So this is very interesting.
That they are spending a lot. And so even if they get this payout, I don't think they're ending up ahead or anything. This is more to make a point.
Yeah.
And I think that
it's to create a point, literally a point on the graph they can point to in later situations, in later lawsuits, where they can use a lawsuit that they won. They can point to the situation, which they do in so many court cases. They use an example that they can, you know, that boosts their case in the future, which is dangerous. I really hope that Palworld does not cave for this and they go after them.
Clearly are seeking the precedent more than they're seeking the actual like payout.
Yeah.
They want to get the foundation laid for future lawsuits going after people for these types of infringements. And I think that's sucky.
Oh, it's
that
shitty.
Just is lame, because I don't think you should be able to patent gameplay mechanics like that.
That's the whole thing. You should not be able to. The fact that you can do that is crazy, in my opinion. Just imagine if like someone patented like using a gun in a game. All first person shooters would be dead. There's so many different like game mechanics that if someone patented it back in the day, it would have just killed sides, industries, just companies, like genres totally would have been gone. And you've seen this happen before. I think it was Shadows of War, or no, Shadows of Mordor. They had a really cool game mechanic system where it was pretty much like different rivals of orcs could have like these minion systems, which I haven't seen in a game since it and it got patented by that game creator, and I don't think I've ever seen it used, and people bring up that example a lot. But I mean, this is outrageous though, because the mechanic that I heard, the biggest one, or the most outrageous one, was the mount system. And it's just like that. The mount system's not just in World of Warcraft. It's in, I played Perfect World growing up with my sister, like vaguely. It's a MMO, a China MMO. It was it had a mount system. There's a lot of mount systems out there. So it's just kind of ridiculous how like they can just patent that, right?
That to me seems so.
And also keep this in perspective, they're both in Japan. This isn't like cross-border law at all. This isn't like, you know, they're going after someone in America where, you know, they're going after a different, you know, set of laws in Japan. They're applying to a different country or something like that. They are literally same backyard.
Anti-competitive. That seems so stupid to me, but they've been allowed to do it. They've been allowed to patent things like the Nemesis system from the
Yeah, exactly. That's what he's talking about. The Shadows of Mordor.
The Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War games.
Yep.
They were allowed to patent that, and now
granted, Game of the Year. They had a Game of the Year edition, so that game went hard, bro. It's a classic. Everyone loves it. Like, if you're not really big on lore and stuff like that, it's pretty fucking good. I remember one of my buddies told me that it was like lore accurate one time, and I talked to like a really nerdy Lord of the Rings guy, like a lore master type deal. I think I was at like, I wasn't at Barnes and Noble. I was at some bookstore reading. This was back when I was a kid. And he just went off on me because he was like, "You think that's just lore accurate?" It was funny.
Pokemon and Nintendo, they're trying to patent things like throwing balls to capture monsters. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I understand it's sort of a well-known Pokemon mechanic, but I think that, again, enabling a company to lock down a gameplay mechanic is such a mess. Like,
well, it's like if you had Star Wars and they had a lightsaber, and then like you couldn't have like a plasma sword or a lightsaber or any kind of energy sword ever again, right? Then they start coming after like fucking swords with fire on them. Like, where does it end, right? Like, obviously there is a patent probably, or copyright, or trademark for lightsabers. I haven't looked into it, but I'm pretty sure there is, because, you know, when you see something like that in another project, it obviously is different. You know, it doesn't get the same hum, the same noise. It doesn't have the hilt the same way. But I've seen it, and, you know, you have the energy sword in Halo. You have, what was that one? It was like, it wasn't StarCraft, I don't think. It was like Phantasy Star. I fucking forgot what it was. You could play it on Xbox 360, and you had to buy a membership. I think it was like MMO, and it was on the front cover. There's a bunch of different swords like that, right? But you have to give it a twist, and it's free game pretty much. So yeah, it's annoying to me, because also with the catching mechanic, it's like real life. You're literally just like fantasizing real life just a little bit. Like, same thing with the lightsaber. You know, to catch an animal, you need a trap. What do you have? A trap, a Pokeball? Like, where does that line end? Can I throw a cube and capture an animal that way? Does my Pokeball have to have some kind of like mechanism where it's like they are teleported to a different dimension, or they're shrunken down by their atoms? Or do I have to explain exactly how the fucking capture works? Or is it so broad where it's just like, if you throw anything at an animal, and you capture it, you can level them up or fight them. like you can do in real life. I can fight, have a dog and go to a dog fight and fight two dogs. It's not, it's not a good thing to do. It's frowned upon. You can do it. You could go to jail for it. And also that dog, if it wins a couple fights, it's going to level up. It's going to learn how to fight better. So yeah, that happens in the real world. So these mechanics, it's too broad in my opinion, and too realistic, like too much like the real world. And you shouldn't be able to like monetize, or not monetize, but monopolize real world things in video games. That doesn't make any sense at all. That should all be free game. Yeah, this is crazy.
What are we gonna do? Like Call of Duty's gonna patent reloading guns? Like,
yeah, quick scoping, is that gone forever now? It belongs to Modern Warfare 2 and that's it.
I don't think we want to start playing this game. Is this filed in Japan? Yeah. So that's where there's nuance that I'm not aware of. Because I'm not Japanese. I don't know Japanese laws or rules around this stuff.
Nope.
So there might be, this might be a slam dunk in Japanese courts. It might be way more complicated.
I don't think I'm just going off of a feeling with this, but I do not think it's a slam dunk. The fact that it's only $66,000 and they're not going for the whole house is crazy, unless there's like ties and like, hey, pay this small fine and we own part of your company now, or you have to use our patent going forward to keep your game alive, or you can't sell your games anymore. Some bullshit. You have to go free to play, and then we get a percentage of your if they change it to like having like season based, like free to play, the store type deal, micro transactions. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word, but yeah.
In Japanese courts, but I do think it's interesting that they've only filed it there and they're not trying to file it in different courts around the world, because I think in the US this lawsuit would flop on its face, and I think they know that, which is why they didn't bother trying it. They're still doing it. I mean, I see this, that's it, just pay that shiz and move on. I think the point is you can't just pay it. This is what they're seeking out of the court. So
also, if you just pay it, like, what are the implications after that? Like, that it's just that sounds too good to be true, right?
If Palworld's lawyers went to them and said, okay, we're willing to pay that just to shut this down, the judge, at least in the US systems, the judge could basically say, okay, we're going to resolve the case, and that becomes a legal precedent for future cases that they can look on.
Fuck that.
And that's, again, like, oh, so they were willing to agree, they infringed on this, and therefore they need to pay monetary damages.
Which, granted, that is how we get into this situation in the first place, because that probably happened somewhere in the past with something else so stupid, and now we're in this position where, the gaming industry, they have patents for fucking game mechanics. It's fucking wild.
Next year, when they release Palworld 2 or whatever, they can get sued again.
Yep.
And there's now a precedent that judges and
hey, you didn't learn for the first time. Instead of $66,000, it's everything you made from this game and also a little extra. So pay up what you made from the last game. Oh, you don't have it because you already spent that money on your employment or your employees. Well, that sucks. Now you're going under and you're going bankrupt to the whole company, and you're now closed forever, and all those employees don't have jobs anymore. So yeah, it can go, it can snowball in multiple directions, right?
People can point to and be like, yeah, see, back then they already agreed that they infringed, and then they paid us money for damages on infringing it.
Yeah.
So see, they agreed with us back then. That's why, even though the money is low, it's not really about that payout.
It's almost like the devil. They're like, here's an easy way out. Take this, and then there's all the catches on the back end.
It's about,
gotta think about the catches,
the precedent. And that's why I would not go along and pay it, even though it's not that much money in the context of how much they made. I would not acquiesce, which it doesn't seem like they are. It seems like they're gonna.
And if Palworld conceded, honestly, you gotta put yourself in the same shoes. I don't blame them. I mean, 66 grand, bro, compared to what y'all have made, that's doable. It is. That's where it's gonna get tricky, because I could see a world where Palworld takes that and they pay it. I hope they don't, and I'm not gonna get mad if they do. But fuck, I really, really don't want them to.
continue to fight and negotiate.
Yes,
and the only way
please
they
fight it.
should is if they can pay that out while agreeing that they made no mistakes, while agreeing that
That's
like,
not going to
while
happen.
admitting no guilt. You know, I think that that's the only way to do that.
That actually could happen if the public opinion has like if Nintendo's aware of it, if Game Freak's aware of like the negativity that's surrounding them right now with this whole situation and how many people are mad about it. Because there was a big, I feel like, split with the fandom when it came to Pokemon and Palworld. Like if you like knew about both of them, right, and you were a fan of Pokemon beforehand, there was a big split in the fandom where a lot of people were against it because of like obviously the designs look identical, like Lucario and Anubis, like one for one almost. Color scheme's a little different, but come on, they're both like they're fighting dogs, right? And the fandom was totally split. A lot of people hated people that liked Palworld, that play Pokemon, and then there's a lot of Pokemon fans that love Palworld. But I think with this situation, people are easing up to it, and they still don't like what Palworld did with that design. They feel like they stole too much from Pokemon in general, but they might see how this is going to negatively influence future games going forward. Because I mean, let's be frank, Pokemon might be amazing for the rest of your life, or it might, get worse and worse and worse. You might not want to admit that, but it could, and you don't want them to monopolize a market where nothing can pop up and take the place and create that same feeling you used to have for that IP. That's my perspective, at least. I don't know.
Yes. Apple's done that before. Google's done that before. They will plead in a lawsuit, like basically an Alford plea, where they'll say, we are not admitting guilt. We're not saying we did anything wrong, but we're going to pay out on this class action lawsuit or something. And the victims get their payouts and are happy.
I guarantee in those situations it wasn't $66,000. There's no way. This is so small. Like, this is so small amount of money. It doesn't make sense at all, unless like Nintendo, like I said, is just so aware of the negativity. They're like, let's get away from this as fast as possible. We shouldn't even sue them in the first place. People are mad about it. They're aware. We're not in the shadows right now, you know what I mean? So yeah, that maybe, but I don't know.
But I think that's the key. Whether Nintendo allows that, I doubt it. Because again, I think the only thing Nintendo's interested in is that precedent.
Yes.
So we'll keep an eye on it, but I don't think that they're gonna pay it out or agree to that unless they can say we didn't do anything wrong, but we're just paying this to go away. But I don't think Nintendo's going to let that happen. Samaya, it's funny, in Yakuza Infinite Wealth, you have to catch a Sujimon, which is inspired by Pokemon.
Yeah, there's a lot of games. And also, like, Pokemon, for instance, had their designs inspired by, what was it? Not Monster Hunter. Goodness gracious. I'm blinking right now. But they stole designs as well. So this is, I'm switching over to a different video real quick because he makes a great point right here. This is Pirate Software. This is the only video I've actually watched about this situation. You can go watch the whole video in length. It's actually pretty good. He talks about specifics in here, but he does make a quick point right here. I haven't watched anything past this, but he started talking about something I agree with completely.
By Sony. It is a partnership. But yeah, no, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not on the side of Nintendo for this.
Nope.
I think Nintendo's making a misstep. I think Nintendo has eroded much of its positive public sentiment towards them over the last several years.
Yes.
You've got them treating kind of the Smash community really badly. You've got them going after creators on YouTube. You have them now doing this, attacking other companies in what looks like really slimy ways. I am not on Nintendo's side here. I think that this is too much. And I even though I know it's not the right business decision for them, I hope Pocket Pair is willing to fight them.
Exactly. It would be an easier business decision just to, take the money.
Because I think this is the first chance I have ever seen where Nintendo may lose a lawsuit that it brought to court. And that's never happened before. So I hope they fight them. And I hope that they're not able to just bully around Pocket Pair and be like, take the $32,000 or take this, 5 million yen, which is about 32 grand. Just give us that money. You've made hundreds of millions. Just let us set precedent to bully people in the future. I really hope they don't do it, man. I hope they don't take it.
Yeah, the challenge as well is that this is all being obviously bought in Japanese kind of law, which is in
Different,
a lot of ways when it comes to ownership and it comes to patents, what we would call archaic. We wouldn't necessarily.
And also, I'm kind of I'm wondering, because I know the Western perspective of this is everyone's really against it. For the majority of people I've seen, the feedback that I've seen, but obviously Nintendo is a staple of Japan. This is in Japan, so I'm wondering if there's any Japanese viewers, because I know I do get some here and there. What's your opinion on the situation? Are people talking about this at all in Japan? I'm wondering, like, for instance, do people like hate Pocket Pair because they just feel like they completely stole Japan's, or not Japan's, but Nintendo's idea when it comes to Pokemon? And I don't know. I'm curious what that sentiment might be. I definitely feel like in the Western area with this whole situation, people are on the side of Pocket Pair because they just don't want that precedent set by Nintendo and this make an example to go forward. And then, I mean, then they would have examples in the Japanese court law where they could point to. And so if they did go after some gaming company in, say, America, they have precedent, you know, in their home, you know, so why not there, you know, there's a little bit more of a, I don't know, you know, having more of a, you know, what's the word, not certification, god, it's fucking late, but more of a cause for a judge to look at that a second time and maybe lean on Nintendo's side more. I don't know.
Say that it's like a move to reflect the times and how things have changed in the Western world, but that's a very different culture over there. And it's important to remember that any Western company that's, say, based in the US has to comply with US patent law, which looks different to this.
Yes.
But it's the start of a slippery slope, and it's not something I think that we want to see happening inside the gaming space, really.
Yeah, I think that's the really scary thing about this is you've got Titan, a company that is very beloved in Japan, and you have a new upstart. You've got an underdog. I also don't know what it...
Exactly. That's why I'm wondering what the drift is there. Like, are people rooting for the small dog in Japan? I honestly I would doubt it. I would feel like the majority of people in Japan would probably be hating on Pocket Pair because of how much, like, Pokemon is culture over there, right?
Means when you're a major company and you file for a patent and then go back and retroactively attack a company that also has those same mechanics. Even though I don't understand the Japanese legal process, that feels wrong. That's like, oh, you made something? Well, I'm going to go patent it and attack you. Something about that doesn't feel right. Like, that shouldn't be that way. Has this happened before? I've not seen this happen before. Not in this way.
Things haven't happened like this before. No, this is...
Let's skip to the beginning because he made some good points. We're going to call it quits after we get to the 7 minute mark.
We're going to talk about this for a little minute. We're going to have Kronos on.
Hello there.
Hello, Kronos. Would you like to tell chat your credentials?
I mean, my background is in, you know, legal and regulatory compliance now. I've been working in law for God knows how long. So cases like these kind of fall across my desk on a fairly regular basis. Normally it's a small amount, but, you know, large companies like Pokemon Company going at Pocket Pair is not necessarily a small case. I mean, there's some really interesting things about this one, though. And
so
I think
interesting.
As we go through it, we can discuss what those are.
Yeah, I'm going to read through it. So, report on patent infringement lawsuit. This is about the patent infringement lawsuit that Nintendo brought against Pocket Pair and did not reveal any information about it. Looks like we finally got that info now because Nintendo neglected to tell the public what it was. They just said multiple patent infringements. It said, as announced on September 19th, 2024, the Pokemon Company and Nintendo Company Limited, hereinafter referred to as the plaintiffs, have filed a patent infringement lawsuit against us. We have received inquiries from various media outlets regarding the status of the lawsuit, and we'd like to report the details and current status of the case as follows. Details of the lawsuit. Number 1. Plaintiffs claim that Palworld, released by us on January 19th, 2024, infringes upon the following 3 patents held by plaintiff.
Okay, here we go. We got the actual, what their infringement is.
And are seeking an injunction against the game and compensation for a portion of the damages incurred between the date of registration of the patents and the date of filing of this lawsuit. Number 2, target patents. Patent number 7545191. Patent application date, July 30th, and registration date, August 27th, both in 2024.
Which is crazy, man. 2024.
7493117, February 26th, May 22nd. That's after they launched the game. All of these are after they launched.
That is, and that's going back to the thing we talked about. I think it was Legal Mindset's video where he broke it down how it worked. I think he was talking about the Japanese court system, but I could be wrong because I know he is in the West. I think he's in America actually, but And he talked about how you can have the original patent, and then you can have branches off of that patent later on to specify more specific items. If it's such a broad topic, which typically patents are broad, but they can get very detailed also, because obviously a lot of patents for machines are very detailed because it's to specific machines and how certain parts work. That's why they patent it, right?
The game summary of the claim,
but that's how they get the loophole where they can have a patent that's actually, registered date July 26, 2024, but the father patent was in fucking 2006. So they just specified more about that patent pretty much, or a different function of that patent, how it differs, stuff like that. But they just differed it later on because why not? Or maybe there's an update to that game mechanic that they patented before and they updated it later on, and you get my drift, right?
An injunction against Palworld, payment of 5 million yen. Wait a minute. Let's go to
30.
So it's 2 payments of 5 million yen. The other guy said 10 million in total. It's not really that. Okay.
Yeah,
$3,000 US.
So yeah, 66,000 in total,
aren't they? That's all they're doing.
Yeah. This is purely about the fact that we've not really had a case like this ever hit the courts and hit kind of the public eye in the same way. So
I do think we haven't seen a case like this, like he just said, hit the public eye, but that might be the reason why it's so low. Also, before the leaks came out, because that was very detrimental to the company, I think, of Game Freak. Honestly, I don't know how their stock prices look and all that kind of stuff like that. But I mean that those leaks weren't like a shining beacon of light for Game Freak, in my opinion, at least. I feel like I got the same sentiment from everyone else that like covered them on YouTube or on Twitter or whatever it might be. People were like positive about like what could have been. But there's a lot of stuff that was very negative in those leaks as well, and the fact that you have so much information leaking as a company is a bad look at also. Like, you can't keep your shit secure. So I don't know if that plays a part in it, and maybe if that's if you put your tinfoil hat on, some people might think, oh, maybe Pocket Pair had something to do with that, so that way they could help themselves out. I don't know. I have no idea. Nintendo might also. You tinfoil hat on, you could speculate that maybe this is all fucking, conspiracy theories. Like, nothing's obviously set in stone or anything like that. It's just me being a dumbass and just, brainstorming what could have been, what might have happened. But you could have Nintendo fucking drop the leaks themselves and then try to blame it on Pocket Pair somehow. I don't fucking know. I don't think they would ever do that. But yeah, it's so interesting that it's just fucking 10 million yen, bro. It's like, why? And if those leaks never happen, or if this like case never blew up and they didn't get so much like support in the West, or I just wish I could know, were they always set on 10 million yen? Was that the number, and how'd they get to that number?
This isn't about, we want a huge amount of money out of Palworld's debt. We want to establish the legal principle that if we have a patent on a game function, that we can get damages for it, that we can bring a court case for it, and that there's at least indication, even if it's only a settlement, that they can go ahead and do that. It becomes the norm. So
it's even worse because they're basically setting the precedent that you released your game first, we can file for a patent later, get the patent registered, and then come back and retroactively attack you. And they're setting precedent for that over $32,000, which is such a small amount. That's wild.
Yeah. The patents themselves are...
And I think that might be a part too why it's so small, because the patents came after. It's just such a bad look, in my opinion. I don't know how this is fucking legal, but it seems like it is. But I guess we'll see how legal it is. It's going to be... Unless they take the money and they pay them the 10 million yen, but like, I really hope to see the day where this gets fought
as well, if you look them up, because they're very, very vague. I mean, the first one there is about providing a game program or system or method that can cause a character to cause various types of actions on a field in a virtual space. So, when, for example, the character is...
That is so fucking vague. Oh my god.
Dragged into, a different stage for the combat. And then there's a whole bunch of kind of specializations on top.
This is not just Palworld. This is what infuriates me like so much. Like, there's so many games where this could apply to.
of that. So it's very specific.
So this is exactly the one that I thought it was, which is in a 3D space, throwing an object and then having the object hit a target and then capture that target to be put back onto your team, which they launched in Legends of Arceus originally. So this one is actually the Legends of Arceus one, which I believe actually went forward in 2022, unless they're talking about the Japanese one, which
But then you also have the pre-existing game that came out before Palworld, which I didn't play. I believe it. Fuck, I can't remember the name. But they did have a game that was an open world based game, which people say a lot of the mechanics that were in Palworld, obviously they're not the same, but they had some of the mechanics in that game as well. And I think that came out in 2020. I almost bought Palworld on Steam today. I have it on Xbox and on PlayStation 5. But it had a pair where you could buy both of them at the same time, like a bundle.
Which is a separate one for this. Yeah, it's the Japanese one. So US was 2023, Japanese was 2022. It's interesting because they have this listed as July 30th, 2024 and August 27th, 2024. I think they're...
Well, this is also Pocket Pair's website, right? So there's a little bit of bias with information, you know. Still true, but yeah, they're leaving out that part, right?
Actually incorrect.
It just makes it look worse
about this because this is showing Japan 2024, but there's a US patent and a Japanese patent prior to this that was there. So this is the one I was reporting.
So the 2021 might be the father patent, and then it broke off and they patented that. I don't know. Fuck.
On before.
Probably because they're both Japanese, right?
As being like, hey, they did this there. The interesting part about this one, the one that I found to be fascinating here, was if we go and look at Palworld actually launched with this functionality in January 18th, 2024. But if we go look at
wow, it was only that long ago. It feels like it's been out so long.
Pocket Pair, and we go back to the game Craftopia, which
that's the game I was talking about, the game before Palworld, Craftopia, that came out in 2020.
Is also by them. You'll see down here, Craftopia actually has this exact same functionality. You can see it right there under the, capturing monsters in a monster prism, and you have to aim it and throw it inside of a 3D space exactly as this patent describes.
But does that put him on the team? Like, how does that exactly work? We don't have to know the details exactly.
But this game came out in 2020, which is long before it. So this is kind of weird to me. I don't know enough about Japanese law, and I don't know if you do either for this. Do we know if prior art even matters in Japan?
It's relevant because ultimately a patent comes down to who created this idea and is registering for it first. So it's kind of like a possession is 9/10 of the law kind of situation where...
Which is interesting because from what Legal Mindset said, I think it was copyright and trademark in America, maybe it's just copyright, but if you have a pre-existing art, pre-existing writings or whatever it might be, even though you go to copyright at that certain date, whenever you first originated that idea is when that date starts pretty much. So you could be hit with copyright case and you had a pre-existing book written for years, and if you can prove it and it predates the copyright you're getting struck for, you should be good and you should be able to win that in court of law. That's my understanding. I don't know how that transfers over to Japan. I'm also not a lawyer, so don't take my word for, take it with a grain of salt.
If you have it in a game, it's already indicative that you've created it and you've done it. And then you have to get down into arguing with the patent office of contesting, the patent claim itself. So while this patent is, filed, it's valid. Whether good or bad reasons, no one has seemed to have questioned that patent. So you can't just kind of write off the merit of it.
Also, Craftopia has this interesting situation going on, and a lot of games like this, Genshin Impact do as well, where a lot of the the themes of the game are pretty much like a rip from Zelda Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild has a lot of clones, copycats. It's an amazing game, and it showed people you can create this wide world experience, and you don't have to have the craziest textures and colors and detail, so that way it runs easy. The fucking Switch runs like a PS2. I love the Switch, it's awesome, but the graphic capacity and how you can maximize it, you only can do so many things. You don't have Cyberpunk 77 playing on the Switch, and at least not like you would on a gaming rig. So yeah, it's another little rabbit hole with Craftopia, other cases where that should be copyrighted and hidden with patents and stuff like that in their game. I don't fucking know. So
there has to be a lawsuit about
something
it.
To think about.
Like I said, this is all coming down to precedent. Ultimately, Nintendo. If I was inside Nintendo right now, my thoughts would be, okay, we've taken a massive kind of public image hit for going after Palworld.
Yeah.
So we can't really drag this on. We need to do something that's going to set us up well for the future, so that we can deal with issues like this, better. So let's establish the precedent, either in court or in terms of settlement, that we can do this and it's okay, and that businesses will just kind of make their mind up, and the public outcry will go away.
This is the problem with the gaming industry as well, because there's a lot of people that just want the gaming industry to be as cohesive, not toxic, as have a framework that works. There's so many different branches of the gaming industry where I have I just don't get why it's the way it is. Like, for instance, with preservation of video games. There's recently a case, and I didn't talk about it in this video because I'm not an expert on preservation by any means, but I do want people to be able to preserve games. There's preservation for movies, TV shows, music, all kinds of stuff like that, so people can go study them. If you are a professor or a teacher about that genre, about that industry, you can do research of work, and that stuff is preserved to last, because CDs get scratched up quick as fuck. You can't just rely on CDs in a library. You need a digital copy. Same thing with movies. Same thing with video games. But there's a certain, they pretty much had this situation with this is a whole side story, but pretty much they try to preserve video games and make it like a thing that they would be official. So you could go back and play Mario and do your research on why that game was so successful, or whatever it might be, right? A Mario game or something like that. But they pretty much rejected it because they were going to say that the people that were going to be playing the video games were going to have too much fun, and so that they would have too much fun means that it's not really research, which is just it's a complete it's just crap. That's bullshit. And so the gaming industry is in this weird place. I don't know if it's because people are so. When it comes to music, everyone listens to music. When it comes to movies, everyone's watched a movie. People have enjoyed movies. People have enjoyed shows. I don't know if it's that, and there's just people on these boards that make decisions or whatever it might be that have never played a video game in their life, and they'll understand what the video game medium has become and is going to be. So we're just, the infrastructure is so far behind when it comes to comparable other industries that already have this infrastructure established. I don't know what it is. That's what I think it is, but fuck, it's so annoying to me, man. It really is. Yeah. So I had to rant a little bit because it's all over the place with this shit.
To be that kind of approach, because the amount they're actually asking for is significantly less than I would have expected, given the amount of money that they're alleging Palworld's made based on their patent.
If Pocket Pair gives in and settles, which $32,000 is a meme when we're talking about the hundreds of millions that both sides, they just have infinite money at this point. If they settle for that, does that still set precedent as well? I don't know.
It 100% sets precedent.
I don't know enough about that process.
Not legally binding precedent, but it makes it this kind of the convention. It makes it the
interesting. I was wrong.
Norm that companies can do this and they can just kind of settle it between themselves. So it doesn't deal with in a legal room. It doesn't mean that if it does go to court, they'll automatically win in future. But it means that the public are going to be a little bit more used to the idea of this, and it won't be quite as new and as fresh.
Well, also with the public opinion, people that are following this know that Nintendo's never lost a case when they come after somebody. People like Nintendo fans will turn around if they pay that $66,000, the 10 million yen. They're gonna turn around and say, "Fat Nintendo W." Palworld had to fucking pay their way out of the situation. They took an L, which I don't really give a fuck about all that shit. I don't give a fuck about console wars or anything like that. What I care is about the precedent that is set for the gaming industry, because I'm a gamer. I have dreams of writing stories. I have dreams of one day maybe, doing a little startup and making an indie game with a couple buddies of mine or whatever it might be. And, these rules are important because I really do believe that video games are the future medium. I think they're going to surpass movies, music, everything. Eventually, I think there's going to be medians of video games that have music, movies, and TV shows in them. Eventually, like Ready Player One, I think eventually we'll get there. Hopefully, the world's not a dumpster fire and everyone's just playing video games. But I think that media is going to get there eventually. So we need to have the infrastructure available to us that's actually, that will actually work. So yeah, fuck that. I hope this doesn't get settled. I hope fucking Pocket Pair pushes back, but I don't blame them if they do. I keep on repeating the same things,
other
but
lawsuits from companies. This might become the norm, and we don't really want it to go through. I think if I was from a consumer perspective, I would far rather that this go to court and it fail on its merits.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's obviously a risk for Palworld, and if they're happy to spend $64,000, which is a meme, that would be cheaper for them than going to court and fighting it.
Yeah, no, I super agree. It's not even 64; it's 32,000, so it's even less.
I think it's wild. 5 million each to.
It is
two parties, so 64,000.
Okay. The part that really gets me about this is Legend of Arceus actually had a worldwide release in January 28th, 2022, a full 2 years after Craftopia. Craftopia also has the same mechanic, also by Pocket Pair. This feels like there's just no case here, man. Like, this is super wild.
Yeah.
You have them releasing a game of the mechanics after Pocket Pair. You have them patenting after Pocket Pair even launched Palworld. And after Pocket Pair launched Craftopia, and then retroactively going back and be like, you violated our patents, even though you had that to market first. Like, that's what it looks like to me. And I hope they fight Nintendo, man. Like, if that's the case, I hope they do.
Principal perspective.
Yeah.
I agree. It was a great video. They go longer, talk about it. I'll eventually listen to the rest of it, probably when I'm driving to my thing, which is in less than... I need to be up in pretty much 4 hours. So I'm going to call quits on this video right here. Let me know if you enjoyed this kind of video where we talk about the update and everything that's going on. I'll talk about it later in another video once I get a little bit more educated by YouTube for university. You gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, my name's Trey Swish. Thank you for watching this video. This is the Ether. There should be some videos popping up by my face and a little button in the middle to subscribe. So consider it. Touch that subscribe button. It's not gonna hurt you. It's free. Click it. Helps me get to 1,000 subs, and then eventually I can start making pushing money into hiring animators and musicians and stuff like that. Create something special for y'all hopefully one day. What else do I gotta talk about? I don't really know. But yeah, I really do. This doesn't happen without y'all, so please let me know what y'all are thinking. I love to keep that conversation going in the comment section below. And yeah, I'll talk to you there, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Deuces, and hopefully I go to sleep very quickly. Love y'all.